Hi, welcome to Inside SRSO. I'm Sergeant Lloyd, Public Information Officer for Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. I have a really exciting guest with me today, and this is Heather Gunn, who's the Director of our HR Department, Human Resources. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. So this show is going to be a little different than others. We're going to do all about employment at the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. And the reason we're doing this is because we've had so many questions. We're hiring so many people. We're seeing a lot of folks showing interest at the Sheriff's Office. So we get a lot of questions, so we're going to try to answer as many as we can. So Heather, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
I have been with the Sheriff's Office for 3 years now. Before that, I worked at a private company, so I have a total of 10 years in human resources. And before that, I had environmental law enforcement experience. So I have a vast range of experience that allows me to be able to relate to our applicants and the Sheriff's Office at this point.
So, you and your team are responsible for assuring that our hiring criteria is met. So I think who better to have on the show and answer these questions than Heather. And what we're going to do is we're going to discuss beginning to end everything that you need to know if you've ever been interested in working at a sheriff's office or you want a career in law enforcement, and of course Santa Rosa is where you want to be. But before we do that, we do have to do our quick hot topics. We got a couple of really cool things that happened in the past week, and we want to make sure that we share that. So Heather, give me a minute. I just got to go through these real quick, and we'll continue. So first and foremost is a scammer video. If you haven't seen this, you may want to go to our Facebook page. Sheriff Johnson addresses a recent fraud that occurred with a victim of over $1,300. And I think you'll love the video. I think Sheriff did a great job with it, and he actually calls one of the scammers. So if you haven't seen it, go to our Facebook page, check out the video. I think it's funny. But in turn, it wasn't, because this was a person that was actually using the Sheriff's Office as a scam. So if you get a call from the Sheriff's Office saying that we want green dot cards or some kind of a gift card, no, that's not the case. Give us a call directly at 983-1100 and find out before you give anybody any information whatsoever. And if anyone asks you for gift cards over the phone, be cautious. And next is we want to congratulate Lieutenant Tommy Gunn for his retirement. 30 years of service at the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office and to the citizens of our community. Did a great job, retired as a lieutenant, real happy for him. We want to wish him continued luck in his personal life. And I hear, Heather, that he is into watching birds. Is that true? Is that his new hobby?
Yeah, he's finding ways to enjoy his time and discovering wildlife he didn't get a chance to see whenever he was working day in and day out at the Sheriff's Office.
I hear you. And just because he gave me a hard time, I'm going to give you a hard time, Tommy, for that, and let everybody know you like watching birds. Nothing wrong with that. So you ready to get going here with some of the stuff, Heather?
Absolutely.
We got a lot to do. So open positions are partly due because of the school resource officer situation. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that and what the governor's mandated?
So the governor's mandated that every school must have a school resource officer. Our partnership with the school board has allowed for us to place that school resource officer into the schools by the beginning of this school year. So those are in place. And we are working towards backfilling those positions for those deputies that we have placed in the schools. So that has created some additional vacancies.
Now, Heather, let me mention something real quick from a 30,000-foot level. We are very fortunate to have a great working relationship with the school board. A lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot. There are some counties throughout the state that have that difficult relationship. And I'll tell you, within 3 weeks of the shooting that occurred at the school last year in Florida, within 3 weeks, Sheriff and Mr. Rosdick had this whole thing worked out, and it worked just tremendous. But we do have to fill those spots, and we just can't hire somebody to be an SRO, right?
Correct. If they have prior experience in working in a school resource program from another agency, then we have positions, if they're vacant in the school, to put them in there. Most of the time they are required to work patrol first, complete FTO, and then put in for an assignment to the school resource program.
So let's start from the beginning. What do you say to a young person in high school, maybe that wants to be a law enforcement officer? What recommendations can we give?
The best thing is do well in school. I know that probably sounds cliche. You're told that your entire life. But there is a lot more than just going out and catching bad guys. You want to do well in English and math, because those things do factor in some way or another, report writing, things of that nature. For those that are coming fresh out of high school, before you can get into an academy, you will have to do the CJ-BAT. That's the Criminal Justice Basic Abilities Test. That's given at George Stone. You can take that at Northwest Florida Community College. So you can do that there, and that will allow you, once you pass that exam, to apply for an academy.
And, you know, if I could just interject, at a young age, what we tend to overlook is the fact that in law enforcement, it's not like most other professions. You're being held to higher standards, so it's a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle where you have to lead by example. People look up to you simply because of the uniform that you wear, and you have to fulfill that role. And Heather, I hear a lot from Sheriff Johnson when he says you have to have a good heart. You know, you have to have it inside of you to do this job, and I definitely believe it. And that's something I want to pass along to the younger generation, is that when you grow up, you know, the things you do today as a kid can affect you later on if you want to be in law enforcement.
Absolutely.
There are many rules and regulations in becoming certified in the state of Florida, and it was a surprise to me. I didn't grow up in Florida, and when I came here, I'm like, well, the agency is just going to give me a job and put me through the academy. No, that's not how it worked. So the first step is to attend an actual academy in the state of Florida. So there's a lot involved with that. Heather, can you kind of explain how that works?
The first step, like I mentioned, is the CJ-BAT. So that's the first thing that you have to do. You must pass that exam before you can attend an academy. Once you do that, you would apply to the academy, and once accepted and approved, then at that point you would be able to attend that academy, depending whether it's full-time or part-time. And then a lot of times we will accept an application from someone that is enrolled in the academy but not yet certified. Those positions are occasionally posted on our website.
So if you are already a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Florida, let's say you work for whatever county and you want to move to Santa Rosa County, what's that process?
In state, the transfer from agency to agency is very easy. You simply apply to another agency, your standards transfer over. So we would process you just like any other Florida certified applicant.
We also hear, you know, live and work where others vacation. I really believe that for Santa Rosa County. We got an amazing community, got great relationships, and it's a great place to be. Coming up, we're going to continue talking about HR, and we have a lot of questions that we're going to field. So hang tight, we'll be right back.
Have you ever laid in bed and wonder what your future is going to be like? I do, and I often wonder what it's like to be a deputy. How would I look in a uniform? What's on that belt? What's the car look like inside? Who would I work with? What's it like to help others in need? What's it like to fight crime? One day, I'm gonna know.
From that first day when I started hearing stories about what law enforcement actually, entailed, I was hooked. I'm very involved with, being on the SWAT team. It's my niche, if you will. I take pride in what I do. And my wife grew up in Santa Rosa County. I have, 2 children, one on the way. I try to be the best husband and father I can be. Hopefully at the end of the day, make me a better cop as well.
I am Michael Ramirez, and I am proud to be a Santa Rosa County Deputy Sheriff.
And welcome back. So we're going to continue with HR. And Heather, if you're from out of state and you want to come work at Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office in Florida, let's say you're from Arkansas, because we get people from across the country, how does that work?
Instead of doing the entire academy, you have the option of doing the equivalency of training. That is offered at Chipola College. You can do that through there. It's a 1-week-long course. There are certain criteria that must be met. You do have to have at least 1 year of full-time employment at an agency outside of the state of Florida in order to even qualify for that program. Additionally, some states, they don't have a full academy, Alabama being one of them. They may have a partial certification program. In that case, then you would have to attend an academy. So the best thing is to contact Chipola College, find out if your prior experience in service qualifies, and then you would take the 40-hour course. We are actually offering sponsorships for that at this time, so if you know anyone that is from another state or even military law enforcement experience, we are offering to pay for that training. It's about $500 for the actual course itself, and we pay the travel and per diem as necessary because Chipola is a little bit of a drive from here.
It is. So are there any resources available out there to kind of help and direct those that are interested? So maybe if they missed a show or they missed this, how can they get information?
Our Human Resources Department is always happy to provide people with information. We field dozens of calls about who to contact for equivalency of training, who to contact to attend an academy. The criminal justice training centers such as Georgetown and Northwest Florida College are both very helpful. If you contact them, they'll give you any information that they can. You can contact FDLE, but most of the time they will direct you to a local agency, one of the training centers in your area, as they're going to be better to field your questions. If you ever have questions on how to get started in the process, or if you want to ride along with our agency, you can contact Human Resources and we can facilitate that for you.
What's your phone number?
850-983-1100.
No. That's the agency's phone number. What's your extension?
Well, they have to transfer you to HR.
Ah, okay. So she doesn't
If I give you
know.
my extension and they call, then...
I put her on the spot. She wasn't expecting that question. So who oversees law enforcement certifications and standards in the state of Florida?
FDLE does, through the Criminal Justice Trainings Center, and they are the ones, CJSTC, so you'll hear that a lot if you ever call an academy or things like that. They're the ones that take care of your standards. If you take a CJ BAT or anything like that, we are able to access those records, see that you've passed it, how many times you've attempted to take it, where you took your academy and graduated. So they're the ones that manage and maintain all of those records.
And there's a lot of questions about academy, what it's like, the hours and all that. And really what we can say is just contact your local academy and get that information directly, as it can and does change. Some of them are part-time, some of them are full-time. I think 700 and some odd hours is the current curriculum. And at the end, there is a state test that you have to take, and I'll tell you, it is very, when I went, you do have to pay attention. There's tests you're constantly taking. Get your old index cards out and start writing them with highlighters. That's what I used to do, and it worked. So it is a lot of studying, but it's the goal in the end is definitely worth it, and I love my job. I'd do it for free if I had to.
I'll hold you to that.
Hey, oh, that's right. I should have said that. Sorry, I can't take it back. It's on camera. So you get your standards, and your standards is you're a Florida Certified Law Enforcement Officer. You go to the academy, you take a test, you pass. What's next?
The next thing is to apply to an agency. If you weren't one of the individuals that applied while you were in the academy, your next step is going to be to fill out that application. You do have 3 chances to take the state exam, so if you were to take it and you don't pass on the first try, please don't be discouraged. They will let you take it again. You can go ahead and apply with us while you're processing. We will bring you in, do supporting documentation. That's where we collect any information we need from you, your driver's license, social security card, high school information, college degree if you have one. We also give you an opportunity to go over your application, to make changes as necessary, and give you some paperwork that you'll need to fill out to continue in the process, such as your physical abilities tests that we make you do, and things like that.
So what are all the things that you do? You do the physical abilities, right? And then you do an interview?
Not in that order.
Right. Well, give us the order.
Okay.
What is it?
So the first thing you do is you do your application online. You're then contacted by a specialist from Human Resources. Normally it's Ms. Pilar Williams. She is who processes our sworn applications. She calls you in. You come in and do supporting documentation. At that time, you're given your clearance to test for the physical abilities test, which is kind of like an obstacle course ran in a specific amount of time. Once you return that in, you run your PAT test, and then we schedule you for interview once you've achieved a passing score on the PAT test. Upon passing interview, you would go into the background process, and then once passing background, we do what we call the CVSA, the Computer Voice Stress Analysis. It's like a polygraph. They're a little bit different as far as the execution of them, but they the essential goal is to obtain truth verification. Once you pass that, then we do the psychological and medical evaluation, and once you've completed both of those, you are ready for hire.
What's that average length? How long does it take?
It's largely dependent on your background and how quick you are to turn in documents. We have applicants that wait 30 days to turn in a clearance to test. We have some that come in the next morning and they're ready to go. If you've had 20 jobs, then we are going to take a little bit longer to do your background, but the average is about 30 to 60 days, and that's from date of application to date of hire.
And I'll tell you, that phone call, there's certain things that happen in your life that you never forget. I remember when I got the phone call from HR saying, hey, you're hired.
Right.
I was fishing on the VAR Pier, and I was all excited, and nobody really understood why I was jumping up and down screaming. They thought I caught a fish, but it wasn't. I got my career, and I'm very thankful of that day. Let me ask you, what is the most frequent, real quick before we go to commercial, the most frequent issue that arises that disqualifies people?
Untruthfulness in application. People think automatically that they have something in their past that is going to disqualify them, so they think it's easier to omit it until they absolutely have to disclose it. And there are certain points throughout the process in which we give you opportunities to disclose that. And if you don't disclose it until CVSA day, that's an automatic disqualifier. Honesty is always the best policy, so if you include it in the beginning, chances are it's not going to disqualify you. It's something we review, we go over with you, we won't leave you in the dark over what's happening with it. So that's the biggest thing. That and mistyping your email address and telephone number. It happens a lot, and 30 days later we get a phone call of, nobody ever called me about my application. And we look, and sure enough, their number's typed wrong or their email address is typed wrong, and then it kind of delays your process a little bit. So just pay extra attention to those things.
Really important stuff. Let's do this, go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Why are we here?
Because you guys busted me stealing from cars.
So how were you getting into these cars?
It's easy, man. I just open the doors.
What do you mean you just open the doors?
Most of the cars I get into are left unlocked.
What are you looking for when you get into these cars?
Cell phones, wallets, guns, purses with money, and even sunglasses. You'd be surprised what people leave in their vehicles. If people would just lock their cars. If people would just lock their cars.
From that first day when I started hearing stories about what law enforcement actually, entailed, I was hooked. I'm very involved with, being on the SWAT team. It's my niche, if you will. I take pride in what I do. And my wife grew up in Santa Rosa County. I have, 2 children, one on the way. I try to be the best husband and father I can be. Hopefully at the end of the day it'll make me a better cop as well.
I am Michael Ramirez, and I am proud to be a Santa Rosa County Deputy Sheriff.
And welcome back to the show. This is our favorite part of the show, as always, is our wanted fugitives. And Santa Rosa County Crime Stoppers is who you want to call if you know any information in reference to any of these individuals. This is your first time doing the fugitives, right?
It is.
All right, let's get started. So first up on the list is going to be Skyla Lee Braddock. And Skyla is wanted for a weapons offense, missile into a dwelling vehicle, criminal mischief over $1,000. And Skyla is a white female, 28 years of age. She's approximately 5'3". She has brown hair and brown eyes.
Okay, next up is Mark Howard Mobley. Mark is wanted by FHP for hit and run, leaving the scene of a crash involving damage, driving while license suspended. He's a habitual offender, possession of marijuana less than 20 grams, and 3 counts of possession and/or use of drug equipment. Mark is a white male and is 40 years of age. He is approximately 5'10" and 160 pounds with brown hair and blue eyes.
And next up is going to be Rachel Renee Fields. And Rachel is wanted for grand theft less than $5,000, possession of a controlled substance without a prescription. She also had marijuana less than 20 grams, possession of equipment. And Rachel is a white female, 40 years of age, about 5'4", and has blonde hair and blue eyes.
And next on the list, James Benjamin Moore III. James is wanted for possession of controlled substance without prescription. James is approximately 6'1" and 165 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes.
And next up is going to be Jeremy Lee Suggs. And Jeremy is wanted for burglary of unoccupied structure, grand theft, less than $5 grand. And Jeremy is a white male, 35 years of age, 6'2", 160 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes.
Next, Alicia Diane Wheel. Alicia Diane Wheel is wanted by Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office on charges of grand theft up to $10,000 from persons 65 years or older and grand theft of a motor vehicle. Alicia is a white female and 42 years old. She is approximately 5'6" and 170 pounds. She has blonde hair, maybe dyed, and blue eyes.
And next up is Philip Ray Odom. And Philip is wanted for an order revoking bond, DUI, alcohol, or drug, third violation within 10 years. Philip is a white male, 32 years of age, 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, brown hair, and brown eyes. And careful taking a ride from him.
Next, Cameron Vashon Johnson. Cameron is wanted for failure to appear, possession of controlled substance without prescription, possession of cocaine and withhold support, non-supportive child and or spouse. Cameron is a black male and is 23 years old. He is approximately 5'8", 235 pounds with black hair and brown eyes.
Next up is Nigeria Diamante Anderson. Nigeria Diamante Anderson is wanted by the Sheriff's Office for first-degree theft. Nigeria is a black female, 23 years of age, about 5 foot tall even, 105 pounds, black hair, and brown eyes.
And last but not least, we have Tiffany Alicia Nolan. Tiffany is wanted for burglary with assault or battery. Tiffany is a white female and is 35 years old. She is approximately 5'7" and 130 pounds with brown hair and blue eyes.
And if anyone has any information in reference to these wanted individuals or wanted as of today, shows pre-recorded the 31st, and Crime Stoppers 437-STOP can get a reward of up to $3,000. So let's continue. So you you know what we didn't mention? At any point in time during this process, you could be a civilian ride-along. You can come out and actually see what we do and how we do it and ride along, which is a great program. Want to talk about it?
Yeah, it's very easy to go through that process. You would simply need to contact Human Resources or just drop by within normal business hours, which is going to be 8 to 4. If you're going to do fingerprints on that day, you have to come before 3:30. Part of the process is you come in and do an application. We collect a copy of your driver's license. We take your photo for your file that we keep for you, and then you do your fingerprints, and we run a criminal history check. In order to be qualified to ride with our deputies, you have to be 18 years of age or older, not have any pending criminal charges, no felony convictions, and no violations of moral turpitude as defined by the CJSTC. That list is very long, but you can find it by going to FDLE's website and looking for Chapter 1127B.
Turpitude.
Yes. It's not an easy word.
Great. She was really worried she couldn't get that one out, but good job.
Thanks.
Before you're actually hired, there is this little issue called pay and benefits. And I think, that's probably what can attract people to a certain agency. And right now, we're very competitive in Northwest Florida, and we have a lot of really cool things going on with that. Can you get into that?
So we've added a couple of things over the last 30 days or so, and it's going to carry on for as long as funding allows. And so I want to be very clear on that because I don't want anyone to be misled. We do have a limited amount of funds. So today we may have it, but 30 days from now we may not. So that is sign-on bonuses. Sign-on bonuses are eligible for a deputy on his very first day of work and never worked at another law enforcement agency, or a deputy that is tenured coming from another agency. The amount varies depending on whether or not you're experienced. And for a non-experienced deputy, first day on the job, this sign-on bonus is $2,000. It's $500 on the date of hire, $1,500 given to you at the end of your probationary period, which is 1 year. So you would receive that in your 11th month of probation. For experienced deputies, the sign-on bonus is $1,500 at the time of hire and $1,500 at the 11th month of probation, for a total of $3,000. We are actually also offering that for dispatchers, so I want to throw that in there because we're always looking for dispatchers. The same provisions apply on non-experienced versus experienced. And then the other thing that we've recently added is one of our benefits we have that some agencies may have or may not have is a deferred compensation plan. It's a qualified 457 plan, and we are offering an employer match. So if you're contributing to your 457 plan, we will match it 5% at the end of the year. So whatever you contribute, we will put 5% of whatever you contribute for the entire year. We will give that to you.
There's a whole list of our benefits on our website under the careers tab. But one of the things I know that stands out the most is our benefits like medical. I mean, we have a great medical plan that we use, and I know when I go to the doctor, people always ask, well, how much is your copay? You know, 10, 15 bucks is a great
Right.
thing. And I think that's really where the rubber meets the road, is how much are you really paying for. So now that you actually are hired, you've figured out the money situation, you've said, yes, I'm going to work for the sheriff's office. What's next? What's the next step?
So your first day or a couple of days thereafter, within your first couple of days of employment, you'll be sworn in by the sheriff, and you will officially get pinned either by the sheriff or by a loved one of your choosing, and then you will begin your field training program. That program for non-experienced law enforcement officers is 16 weeks. It can be extended depending on whether or not you need additional time in a certain phase. Field training is 4 weeks per phase. There are 4 phases total. If you are experienced from another agency, you can have a reduced field training program. That's going to be dependent upon how well you do in each of the phases. So you'll go through the phases, and then your progression in the phase is dependent upon your field training officer's recommendation.
Heather, that was a ton of information, and I got to applaud you. Very rarely did you look down at your notes. She's got this stuff just in there, and thanks. I really appreciate it, hearing it directly from you. And are there any words of wisdom you can give somebody? We got just a little under a minute, that'll help the entire process.
Just keep in contact with us. Give us information. One key thing we get a lot of questions on when you're doing the online application, when you get to the end, it's going to ask for transcripts and licenses. For that, it's asking for your driver's license and your high school diploma. If you don't have it to upload a blank Word document. It will not let you submit without it.
So, any questions, call HR, call our office, 983-1100. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll see you on the next show. Take care.